Listen in as Ed visits with Andrew Morgan, MD, University of Illinois College of Medicine professor and founder of the Penguin Project.
Let's start today, your activities today.
Okay.
You're the professor of clinical pediatrics at University of Illinois
College of Medicine.
And then what else do you do in your day job?
My day job.
Your day job.
My day job is predominantly involved in activities related to evaluating and treating children with developmental disabilities. And it's divided into really basically three big parts. I do a lot of administration in terms of organizing activities, developing programs, teaching residents and medical students. And then I do a lot of public relations, public speaking, going out into the community and doing things like that.
But the emphasis, I'm speaking today of the diagnosis.
Yeah, what I do is I evaluate children, make a diagnosis of a developmental disability, often severe, often permanent. And my job is to tell parents that their child has cerebral palsy, their child is mentally retarded.
And that's the delivery of news.
Yes.
And not good news.
Always not good news.
Never good news.
Rarely. Rarely.
How do you feel about that? I mean, I know you have some avocations, an actor, doctor, producer, director, professor. You have multiple roles. You play the guitar, you play the drums. We'll get into your acting. I've heard about your acting and all these other activities and the Penguin Project. But at this point in your career, that part of your professional day job is the delivery of bad news.
Yes.
How do you handle it intellectually?
I handle it intellectually because to handle it emotionally would be very, very hard. I have to tell parents of newborn babies that their babies have been devastated by events that have happened. I have to help them come to decisions about what they want to do. Sometimes a decision to terminate treatment, take their children off a ventilator. Very hard decisions for families. I've got to tell parents that their children have cerebral palsy, that it's a permanent disorder, but that there are things we can do. There's hope, there's treatments, there's going to be improvement, there are going to be gains, but the bottom line is they're not going to outgrow this, they're not going to cure this, it's not a curable problem. And so for me, when I look at the things, and I've talked about this before, when I look at these parents, everybody talks about heroes and people to admire. These are true heroes, real heroes. These parents who get up every single day faced with significant challenges and they meet them head on regularly without fail, without complaint, find the positive and just do this day after day after day. It's just, to me, incredible. And when I work with them, truthfully, to me it's a privilege to be able to do what I can do to assist them in that journey with that challenge.
And you could have chosen all sorts of specialties.
Yes.
Why this bad news? I hate to characterize it like that, but I'm searching for the correct term. But bottom line, you are giving why the bad news specialty?
Well, it is a bad news specialty in terms of looking at the bottom line, but the truth is you're helping children, you're helping families deal with challenges and helping them make the most of it. I got into this field for very personal reasons. I've always been interested in neurology, in brain function. I have two mentally retarded cousins who are now adults. I saw what having them in our family did to other members of my family.
What did it do?
What
did that event do?
Well, it basically presented significant challenges to our family. Some of our family members reacted appropriately, and some did not. I saw the way it tore people apart. I saw the way it really made, particularly my aunt and uncle, devote everything to their children and not let go of them and allow them to become individuals. Today, they still call them the children, and those children are 63 and 58. I decided that it was important for someone to be able to provide some guidance to those families to help them deal with the challenge. And I think that's really the bottom line of what I do and in the way I view my role. I'm there to help families, children and families, become as functional as possible in every aspect of that word.
Andy, your youthful dreams, passions, what were they?
You know, I'm trying to remember back. The interesting thing is I decided at 9 years of age that I was going to be a doctor. Not only a doctor, but a pediatrician.
So this tipping point, when you were 9, you started reading about the body, and I presume the brain.
Yes.
And so you were convinced at age 9 this was your destiny.
I was convinced I was going to be a doctor.
A doctor.
Didn't know what kind of doctor, except I did know I wanted to be a pediatrician because I'd always loved children. Even at 9, I enjoyed working with children. And I decided that's what I was going to do. I decided I was going to be a pediatrician. I'm probably one of the few people that entered their educational system kind of already having an idea of what they wanted to be and actually ended up exactly in that same place.
That was your dream.
It really was.
I want to tell you a little story that I heard just the other day from the gal that founded the Race for the Cure here in Peoria. I call it the Tinkerbell story. Specifically, she was getting her car serviced, and there was 2 little children, 2 little girls, one age 6 about, who looked just like Dorothy out of the Wizard of Oz, and one about 4 who was like Alice in Wonderland. They both had pigtails, you know, with pink bows and a pink outfit. And the little girl was there coloring on the table on the floor, and oh, I want to be Tinkerbell and fly to the stars, and you know, just so ecstatic about this dream she had.
Right.
And there sat Dorothy with her legs propped up in this book and looks down at her sister and said, "You'll never fly." You could fly. You decided to fly early on.
Yeah. I decided pretty early on that that's what I wanted to do. It was something that fascinated me and something that I felt I wanted to devote my life to.
I'd like to talk about the Penguin Project, about the birds that can't fly. Tell me about this.
Well,
the name first. Where did you get this name? Kathy and your spouse,
right,
and you co-founded this idea, came up with this idea. When?
Well, actually, I've thought about doing this for a long time because I've been actively involved in theater. My whole family's been involved in theater. I work with children with disabilities. And I decided at some point in time, you know, this would really make a nice combination because I know that being in theater gives you self-confidence, improves your socialization, improves your communication skills. All of my children have been in theater and I've seen the positive benefits from that. And I said, you know, why don't I do this?
Well, what is this? What is this?
Well, the Penguin Project is a program for children with disabilities. They are the performers. It provides children with disabilities and all types of disabilities an opportunity to be involved in community theater. They are the stars. They are the ones that have all of the roles. And to assist in the process, every child is assigned what we call a peer mentor. And that's a child without a disability who is linked to them and matched to them, who provides them assistance at rehearsals and on stage.
From ages what to what?
The artists are, we call them artists, young artists with disabilities. They're age 8 to 21, and the mentors are age 10 to 18.
And the nature of the disabilities?
There's a full range of disabilities.
Autism, retardation.
Autism, mental retardation, learning disabilities, ADHD, emotional disorders, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury. We've had children who have had tracheostomies where they actually couldn't talk, but they had a great time. Some of our children are in wheelchairs and have difficulty moving their limbs, but nevertheless are full participants in the process. And so it really is a full gamut of disabilities. We don't discriminate. It's basically everybody can be a part of it. The one thing that we really watch carefully is we want to make sure that we don't have children who are severe behavior problems who could injure themselves or injure others. We've had some children with some difficulties behaviorally, but we've always been able to overcome them. The kids really do well. I've been astounded with how well children always respond to the call. You set the bar high, you provide them with support and guidance, and in my experience, children will never disappoint you.
The name Penguin, why?
Well, the Penguin Project really derives from my fascination with penguins. When I was young, reading was a big part of my life. When I was young, I read a book called Mr. Popper's Penguins. And basically, Mr. Popper's Penguins fascinated me. I was fascinated with penguins, and it stayed with me. And when I was developing this program, I said to myself, you know, what if we call this the Penguin Project? Because penguins are birds who can't fly. They're disabled. But nevertheless, despite their disability, they're able to negotiate a very hostile environment without difficulty. They toboggan, they swim, they waddle, but they are carefree, intriguing, curious within their environment, even though they clearly have a disability as a bird.
Some of the stories, first of all, the Downs child, first 2 rehearsals was in a closet. Remember that?
I do. This is a young man with Down syndrome who was very shy, very introverted, and in our rehearsal space there is a supply closet. And for the first month or so, that's where he spent his time.
In the closet?
In the closet. He would go right, he would come into the room, check it out, decide, I'm not going to handle this. I'm going to stay in the closet where it's safe. And gradually, obviously, he came out. He started to become interactive. He engaged in the process. And by the end of the entire process, on stage, we literally had to drag him off. He just wanted to stay on stage, perform. He had one line, and he was so proud of himself for delivering his line and delivering it well, delivering it clearly. But when all was said and done, when it was time for everybody to go off, when the scene was over, he was there on stage. We had to just kind of gently say, it's time to go, time to go.
The child with CP, cerebral palsy, that stood up for the first time?
This actually was a patient of mine, or is a patient of mine. He has cerebral palsy, kind of moderate to severe, more moderate, but had never really stood up on his own. He was able to stand and walk, but he had never gotten up from the floor on his own. And in one of the scenes, the children are sitting on the floor, and then they have to stand up in order to get ready for their dance number. And in the middle of this scene, one performance, he stood up on his own without his mentor helping him up. And his mother noticed that and said, oh my gosh, this is the very first time he's ever stood up on his own. And we've got so many stories like that of children who, because of the nature of what we're trying to do, recognize that this is a chance for them to really shine. And shine they do.
This Down syndrome child standing up, it's pretty impressive.
I mean, child with cerebral palsy.
Yes. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Let's talk about the shows. Beauty and the Beast, talking Clacks, Wardrobe. Bye Bye Birdie, have you ever done that?
No. Our selection process is very straightforward. There's a company that manufactures or puts together shortened versions of shows. So they take the shows that they own, shorten them down to about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half, shorten the songs, and make it more accessible to children. And more importantly, what they do is they make a CD of all the music, one that is with vocal tracks and one without. So you can duplicate these off and give them to the children so they have that. So we are limited to those kinds of shows because we know how important it is to have things already cut down, already prepared, and then have those CDs available. So our limitation is based on that. There are lots of shows we'd love to do, but because they don't already appear in shortened version, and you legally can't shorten something significantly, it's against contractual rules. So there are shows like Bye Bye Birdie, like Wizard of Oz, like Oliver, that we would love to do, but they're owned by a different company than the one that has the shows that we work with. So every year we look to see what they come out with, and we make selections based on what's available, things that will provide an opportunity for leads, for smaller parts, for the chorus, things that will allow lots of children to do lots of things.
How do you come down? From your day job, or the acting, or the and Penguin Project, how do you come down from those emotional, stressful, I'll call it, experiences?
It's just time and just vegging.
I mean, not playing the drums or the guitar,
no,
or walking.
I sometimes, but see, to me, when I play the guitar, when I drum, that's a high. So that's not coming down. That's not relaxing, so to speak. I mean, it is and it isn't, because in my sense, being creative, for me at least, isn't what I would consider to be relaxing. Now, I certainly enjoy some of it when it's becoming just secondhand, when I'm just kind of fiddling around with my guitar.
Anyway, what's relaxing?
Just kind of doing nothing.
Where are we going in your area, and when are we going to get there? Your fondest dream, where are we going 10, 20, where will we be 10, 20, 30 years from now?
I think there's some very, very exciting research that's being done looking at ways to protect the brain and even repair the brain. I don't think we're anywhere close to it yet, but from what I've read and from what I've seen, there's certainly progress. There are steps along that way. I think that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to be able to prevent and or cure these sorts of devastating disorders. Short of that, to my mind, what's critical is that we create opportunities for individuals with disabilities to be as functional as possible. To me, it's all about what we call function. Being able to go out and do the things that other people do. You might be in a wheelchair, you might not be able to see, but that shouldn't prevent you from being able to take advantage of those things out in our society that all of us can do.
The Penguin.
The Penguin and the Penguin Project. I want to make sure, I'd love to see things like this created all over the place. Because I can tell you, if you talk to parents, the one thing they talk about is how their children are isolated, how they don't have chances to do things. And it's not intentional. I don't believe it's intentional. I believe it's simply that we don't take the time to create systems that allow for these types of individuals to be able to step up to the plate and do what all the rest of us can do.
Well, the idea of the deformity. Years ago, it was the blacks, characterized as having all these impairments, which was not even close to the truth. But those that are deformed, that present a difficult image, we will learn to get over that at some time, I hope.
Well, I can tell you that that's another thing that the Penguin Project does, because not only do you have the children with disabilities, but you can't forget about their mentors. And these are children without disabilities who have given of themselves. They give up 4 months to be part of the process, knowing that they're not going to be center stage. They're going to be in the background. They're going to be helpers. And what's so amazing is that not only do they do this without thinking about it, but each year we end up having more mentors becoming involved in the program than we have artists. So there's an awful lot of good out there in terms of what children are perceiving. And certainly one of the things that I love to see is how they start to break down those barriers. And the kids just become kids. They're not different kids. They're not children with challenges. They're just kids. And we try to encourage them to just get together, interact with each other, and have fun together. I think it's about fun. It's about enjoying life. And I think that what I see more than anything else as I watch the entire process unfold is it's children and parents enjoying life and enjoying each other, being supportive of each other, caring for each other. And that's such a wonderful thing. You don't see that very often. And to see it every single day, every single rehearsal, every single thing that we do with the Penguin Project is what really makes this, in my mind, so special.
I was thinking about, and this may not be off the point, maybe off the point, but the idea on the part of Nestle, I think it was, to convert the Japanese to coffee from tea. Well, they weren't getting the job done at the adult level. So you know what they did? They went in at the child level and started filling yogurt or ice cream with a coffee taste, so that at an early age, coffee wasn't a bad thing, or coffee tasting. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, I think we're teaching children that other children who are different are not so different, and certainly have a lot to give and can be an active part of whatever they do. You know, I don't want to get to the point where we say, there's not a problem. They're not different. They are different. And I don't think we want to hide that difference. What we want to say is, we're all different in some way, and there's nothing wrong with being different, and it shouldn't prevent us from being able to do what everybody else does. We need to, in some respects, kind of embrace those differences and then look past them. And that's what I think we're trying to do. We're trying to say, yeah, there's a difference here, but it's not that big of a difference. And it certainly shouldn't stop us from giving all children an opportunity to be able to succeed and become involved in their communities.
But think of what the mentor receives. I mean, we talk about the children, what the benefits are. I perceive the greater benefit to the mentor.
You know, I think that in the bigger picture, if we look at it from a societal perspective, if we can get mentors, if we can get children to accept others despite their differences, you're right. We have really done a tremendous thing in terms of what can happen within a society. If we can learn to accept each other, if we can learn to help each other, and if we can enjoy each other and have fun with each other, we'll go a long way to making this a better place to live.
Have you thought about the difference of accumulating wealth and doing your penguin project? You could be accumulating wealth, right? In lieu of the penguin, you could be out making a lot of money. Why not?
You know, it's really funny because at this point in my life, when I'm approaching retirement.
Oh, wait a minute. You're age 60. You don't have to retire.
No, but I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
it's a time when you start saying, hey, you know, where am I headed?
Right. And where are you headed?
I'm not sure. I certainly don't want to stop working. I can tell you, we're kind of getting off track here, but what I would, if I had my dream, it would be to be able to get paid enough to live, and go all over the country and set these kinds of programs up in different communities. Each year, go a couple of places.
Well, you've received a call from Vermont, state of Vermont.
We're now involved. We've set up
DeKalb.
one in Bloomington, DeKalb. We've talked with some people in Vermont. We've talked with some people in Colorado now. What we're missing really is a national scene. You know, we keep talking to Oprah, trying to get to talk to Oprah. Some place where we can get the word of what we're doing out for two reasons. One, to obviously get some financial support to allow us the opportunity to
foundation.
Do it. The foundation.
You have a foundation, a 501c3.
We created a foundation really designed to allow us to take this on the road and set it up in other communities.
Andy, we talked about the birthing process, and this project was another child of yours. You have 3 plus this. Now, this activity of spreading the news is quadratic birthing, is it not?
It's an incredible possibility and a very challenging prospect. It asks the question, can this happen? Is the magic just here, or can the magic be recreated?
Andy.
And we know it can be recreated.
Andy, this magic isn't just here.
I know. It requires a formula, and it requires people who will dedicate themselves to making it happen. It's one of those things that, like when I started, I had to finally, after talking about it, say, I'm going to do it. And so I think what our foundation does is it basically provides the seed. We go out, we find people, we find fertile ground, and we plant the seed. And the seed grows, and we walk away. The seed continues to grow, it flourishes, we go somewhere else, we plant another seed. That seed flourishes
Andy, you're
and grows.
saying we, and I respect that. But in fact, haven't you and your spouse birthed many children?
Yes. I say we in a collective sense because if this gets as big as I'd like it to get.
How big should it get?
Well, I don't know. You know, I guess one of the questions that comes up is, can someone who is not as invested as me, someone who doesn't have the background in both theater and developmental disabilities, go out and help someone else do this? And quite frankly, we don't know. Right now, the plan is for me to go out and to go to different locations, help people get this going. If we really get rolling, it will take others. And I think we'll find them. There are people that are part of the program that I think can handle that job. Now, can they do it the same? I don't know. My purpose, my goal right now is to get these things going. And if I can keep on doing it and do it all over the place, then I'm going to be a very happy person. Because like I said earlier, the joy of doing this is something I've never encountered. And you asked about the money thing. Yeah, there are times when I think about possibly if I'd become a surgeon, I could have certainly made a lot more money than I'm making, but I don't think I would have been as involved with people as I am now. I've been involved with so many children and families through my professional work that it's been incredibly gratifying to help them in their journey. That's kind of the way I look at it. I'm helping them on their journey. This is a different journey with the Penguin Project. It's a very different one, and in my mind, a very productive one. I have a chance to really have a significantly positive impact on these children and on these parents simply by being a catalyst. And once you've been in that role of being the catalyst, it really is infectious.
Addictive.
It is. It's absolutely addictive.
Well, you know, my view of the world is that I think everyone dies, at least in the physical sense. But I know that not everyone lives. Perhaps, Andy, you're living.
You know, if this continues, if this expands, yes, I will have done something. You talk about the very beginning, we talk about dreams.
Yes.
I will have done something beyond my dreams. When I was 9, talking about being a doctor, I never would have dreamed that I would be where I am now, doing what I'm doing now, focusing on the kinds of things I'm doing now.
Your passion is infectious. Do you realize that?
I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My privilege.